from Ellsworth, Maine. Good evening, CLP.
Good evening, Pastor.
So great to have you here today. I want to welcome you in. If you didn't get a 4-on-1 on Sunday, go ahead and raise your hand, and an usher will bring one to you. And I'm now realizing that I don't have a 4-on-1. Thank you. Well, we have no announcements then. We're free. That's okay. I guess I can kind of throw out a couple of the big ones. Spark and Ignite. We have a Spark and Ignite parent and student meeting this Sunday, directly after service, going over some important updates and new news. So if we want to make sure to have you there for that meeting. Oh, here we go. I've got a loaner. Thank you. Okay, I'm bringing it back. Yes, so Spark and Ignite, make sure to keep that marked on your calendars this Sunday. Also, this week in just 2 days, tomorrow in 1 day, we have our Jesus Reigns prayer. So that is going to be here right at 6 p.m., 6 to 7 p.m., and so we want to invite everybody that's able to come out and to join together in prayer as we prepare the grounds, prepare our hearts, prepare this region for the outpouring of God's Spirit that will be coming on the day of celebration in September. And so, as it says in the 4-on-1, we need your voice. The Lord wants to hear your voice joined with everybody else. So we want to invite you to come out tomorrow, 6 to 7 p.m. right here at the church. And I think that that's it for the big announcements. So, thank you very much. Excellent. Okay, so what I want to, for today, because it's a little bit of a different schedule, we're going to jump straight into our lesson so that we have a little extra time for that. So we've got some new handouts for you right here, I think.
This will go in your binder under Abraham's spiritual journey. You guys got yours?
Okay, has everybody got their notes? Everybody's got the cover page, the Abraham cover page, to keep it looking nice and fancy.
Pastor Alec, I have extras. If you have a family member who's not here and they need notes for their binder, you can see me after and you can come and get that for them.
Excellent. Great. Okay. So, we were able to enjoy the last 2 weeks that Michael has been sharing with us, the geographic journey of Abraham, bringing out a number of the interesting stops that he had along the way, and the relevance that they have to the greater biblical view, and some of the kind of contextual aspects of those places, those regions, and kind of the greater depth of understanding that we were able to gain from those. It's been awesome. I really have been enjoying what Michael has shared. And as you saw, I mean, we probably covered maybe 50 to 60% of what's in those packets, but there's still almost another half's worth of content in what he gave you. So these will be great study materials going forward. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be diving into the spiritual journey of Abraham. And kind of the main view that we're going to be taking one Wednesday for every figure and looking at their spiritual journey. And the big focus for each of these figures is going to be, how did they change from the beginning of their journey to the end of their journey, and looking at kind of who did they become? How did they evolve as a person? Because I think probably the most important goal for us as Christians is to grow, is to change, is to develop and become more like God the longer we know him. If we look at our figures in the Bible and we see that as their relationship has gone on, they've become less like God, then that's concerning. So I think our goal is to see, okay, this person starts following God, and by the end of their journey, they are a different person than they were at the beginning. They have become more like God. So that's going to be our focus for today. And before we dive into things, the snack bar is open. We've got some tasty morsels over there to fuel us as we go on our journey today. Just as Abraham, he brought along a whole caravan of herders and cooks and whatever, servants. We've got our own snack bar over there that's going to fuel us. So we got cheese sticks. We got, are those chips or apples? I can't tell. Apple slices, cherries. Who brought the snack today? The Tracys. Excellent. Well, thank you, Brenda and the Tracys, for your supply, as well as the Jardines. So right now, go get a snack, and then we'll get started, okay? Quick. Grab what you want. Do 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 do. All right, grab your snacks, make your way back to your seat. We're going to go ahead and jump into things. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and dive in. So, if you want to open up to page number 1 of your notes, I'm going to warn you, we're going to go through just about everything that I've got in my notes because I'm not detailed as there's not as much. This is all coming from my thoughts and experience with Scripture, so I don't have any cool archaeological details for you, but I do have some interesting things that we're going to look at today. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off. You can go right to page 1, Connecting to Ancient Days. So one of the greatest challenges of reading our Bible is recognizing that the people that we read about were real people. You know, we read, and especially with sometimes the way that the Bible's written, it's not a storybook. It's a history book, especially in a lot of the Old Testament. It's a history book. It's a poetry book. And so it's not like we're not seeing a lot of character motivation. We're just kind of getting the facts. This happened on this day, and the Lord said this, and they did this. You know, sometimes we'll get a little picture of the heart, but it's very hard to understand, why are they doing this? Why are they agreeing to this? This seems crazy, you know? We're not getting all of the internal conflict and thoughts. And so it can be really hard to understand them as more than just a historical figure. And so I know that for one of the most prominent reasons for Michael and I that we embarked on this series is so that we could kind of start to debunk some of that baseline understanding. I know for Michael, one of his greatest goals in his history class is to remind his students who are young and, you know, maybe history is not that interesting to them, to remind them that these were real people making real decisions because of real stuff going on in their life. You know, these were men and women making hard choices, one either because of selfish reasons or because of altruistic reasons. And so we wanted to kind of infuse that heart posture into this series to help us walk a couple miles in their shoes and understand their journey. So in this lesson, we're going to endeavor to understand our first man of God, the very patriarch of our faith, Abram, or otherwise known as Abraham. So as we read today, you'll notice that sometimes he's called Abram, sometimes he's called Abraham. That's because God likes to change names when something important happens in someone's life. And so that it's the same guy, even though he's got 2 different names. With any good journey, you need a map to see where you started and where you're going. On our geographic walk with Abraham, Michael presented many maps that all communicated different perspectives. For our spiritual walk, we will also be using a map, but this one might look a little different. So you'll see there on your page, if some of you may have seen this kind of graph before, if you've been in any of my teachings about story and the art of storytelling, this is called a story arc. And but for today, we're going to look at it as a character arc. Now, I am stealing this from storytelling techniques, but the Bible is a story. Even though it's about real people, it still does inhabit a lot of the same storytelling essence. And so this will help us get kind of a top-down view of Abraham's journey. We only have one lesson to get through this, and so we kind of got to hit the highlights. So this will help us give a journey, see the path that he walks, the ups and the downs. Rather than showing elevation or physical paths, this map of the ups and downs, this map will show us the ups and downs of our figure's faith journey. The peaks are moments when they showed great trust in the Lord, and the valleys are when they turned their own way, disobeying the Lord. So let's take a look at each of the stops along the way. So our first stop is starting the journey. This is where our figure chooses to first embark on a journey of faith. It's kind of the beginning. It's when you get in the car and you get ready and you leave your house and you begin your road trip. That's the beginning of the start of the journey. The catalyst is the moment of no turning back. You can, if you hop in your car and you're going on a road trip, you can kind of, obviously there's nothing that's stopping you from turning back, but once you get a whole day's journey away, now you're kind of committed, or if you're going on a plane trip, if you get to the airport, you can still turn back, but once you get on the plane and it's in the air, you're kind of committed now, And so as far as a journey of faith, it's the moment where they become fully committed to the journey. Throughout the journey, there are trials and challenges. These are moments when their faith is tested and temptations may veer them away from the Lord's path. This is where we start to dip down into, okay, sometimes they might make the right choice and follow God, and sometimes they may make the wrong choice, and that will lead them into deeper valleys rather than higher mountains. Oftentimes, there will be a darkest moment in someone's faith journey. This is when all hope seems to be lost, and either they have failed a great trial, or their circumstances seem inescapable. This would be like the belly of the fish for Jonah, right? That was his darkest moment. It seemed like all hope was lost, and everything had failed. And it was because he had disobeyed the Lord. These were the ultimate consequences to his actions, right? So this is the darkest moment. And then in each of these stories, our hope is that there will be a triumphant conclusion, that the Lord rescues them from the darkest moments, and that their faith prevails and victory propels them into glory. Obviously, not all of these journeys will be the end of their life. They may continue on living, but as far as their faith walk goes, they have a moment of deep hopelessness that is then followed by the provision of God that brings them to a high point that then propels them forward in their faith and shows that they have changed over time. So our mission today is to walk with Abraham on his journey of faith, experiencing the highs and lows to see if we can learn from his life. To do that, we will be splitting into 4 caravans. Each caravan will be assigned a different stop in Abraham's journey. Your task will be to analyze the scriptures associated with that stop and pull out the important details within. We want to go beyond just reading the words and attempting to understand the heart and mind of Abraham in each moment. So let's split into 4 equally sized caravans and assign each one with a stop. So we only have 3 tables, which I probably should have thought through. But if you're not currently at a table, then you need to find a table to sit at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we literally have exactly the right number of chairs left. So everybody find a table to sit at, and that will divvy us up. Yeah, we might change that to 3 caravans. Would anybody mind switching tables so that Russ and Joyce can sit together? Sorry.
Or Abby, what about Abby? Abby, you want to come join us? Abby's going to join us. Yay, come to the podium.
Have a safe journey.
Thank you, Evie.
In your caravan.
Okay. So we've got our caravans. Okay, so caravan, you guys will be caravan 1. You will be journeying to the Abrahamic covenant. You will be caravan 2. You will be looking at the birth of Ishmael. And you will be caravan 4. You will be looking at the sacrifice of Isaac, and the Lord will provide. We're going to skip caravan 3. You can do that on your own at home. There we go. A little homework. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to do a practice run. No, we're actually going to look at the start of the journey. So everybody turn to Genesis 12. We're gonna do a one practice round together, and then I'll have you go off and do your own caravanning.
Stick together and you can do more.
That's right. Okay, so let's go to Genesis 12. I'm not sure where we are. Yeah, we're on page 4. And is there anyone here with an NLT version that would like to read it for me? Okay. All right, Kevin, you're going to read it for me. We're going to read 1 through 6, please. And everybody listen up, because we're gonna discuss this passage here.
Lord.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. I'm throwing the media guy off because we've got 2 mics.
The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram departed, as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into his household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up his camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by Canaanites.
Excellent. Okay, I'll grab the mic. Now we're going to think about this passage and consider these questions. So, can anybody tell me who Abram was?
Abraham.
Yes, he is Abraham. I heard someone say that it doesn't say, and that's true. In that passage, it doesn't say who he is or where he's from. So we're not going to do it right this second, but this would be where we would go back a little bit and see if we can get any context. Now, we have looked at the origins of Abram in the last couple of weeks. Can anybody tell me where he came from originally? Ur of the Chaldeans, right. Which is either Ur or the other Ur. Oh, we're unsure. Which Ur it is. Can anybody tell me who his father was? Terah. Yes. Okay, so we know that Abram is from Ur of the Chaldeans. His father was Terah, and the Lord called out to him. Now, what was God's command to him? Raise your hand.
Right there it says, get out of your country, from your family, and from the Father's house to a land that I will show you.
Yes. Okay. So he says, leave where you are, leave your family behind, leave the house of your father, and go and start your own house. Now, the next question is, did Abraham obey God's command? Yes. Okay, here's some saying yes and some saying no. Why do you say no, Ruth?
Because he took Lot with him.
Right? Okay, now you got to share that with everybody.
Yeah, bringing Lot was lots of trouble, as he found out.
Okay, so at first glance, right, it says Abraham departed as the Lord spoken to him, and Lot went with him. So, at first glance, it might seem like, oh yeah, he's following the rules, except for not all the way. He does a little bit of his own thing on top of what God told him to do. And as we're going to find out, well, actually we won't, because we're not looking at Sodom and Gomorrah today. But if you read the life of Abraham, there are probably a good 3 or 4 separate chapters where Lot is giving Abraham trouble. He has to go save him because he gets captured because he's in Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's herdsmen and Abraham's herdsmen are fighting each other because there's too many sheep and not enough land, and so they have to depart. And Lot's like, I'm going to take the fertile valley. You get the mountains. And then Sodom and Gomorrah and the depravity of that place. And Lot is not a righteous man. And then everything with his daughters. Like, we're not even going to get into any of that. But spoiler. So Abraham kind of obeyed God, but also did a little bit of his own thing. This is something that kind of pops up a couple times with Abraham. He doesn't always listen all the way. Sometimes he takes things into his own hands, which doesn't always turn out well. What do you think Abraham was thinking when he first heard from God?
I guess that depends on the context that we don't know.
Just right, but
Like, has he ever heard from God before? Yeah.
I think they were kind of in land of speculation. I guess maybe how would you be feeling?
Well, God told him to leave his family. And I think Abram was a little nervous because you don't know how far he traveled from his hometown. Okay, so he was nervous, and so he's taken his family. He said, in other words, God said, leave your family behind. But he took his family, plus he took his nephew, whom he had responsible for. So, right then and there, he was off to a bad start.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? How Abram might have been thinking or feeling in that moment? Let's just say that this is the first time that God's spoken to him.
He may have felt not wanting to be by himself. And can he trust his own thoughts? Where am I going? What am I going to do if I leave everybody behind? He needed that support. And he didn't trust God.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Ruth. Yeah, go ahead.
So the translation we read said, leave your father's relatives. So I'm not clear if Lot was on his mother's side or not, but that matters. And God never would have asked him to leave his wife because that's a covenant ordained by God. Right. So he had to take his wife. So he didn't really not leave, unless Lot was his father's nephew. But I thought somewhere, yeah, but from where?
From
his brother.
Abraham's brother.
Okay. But in the translation we read, it said, your father's family, leave your father's family. Anyways, I just think that it would be really scary because we all hear from God, and we all hear from God at different ways. We have words of knowledge, Gabe, Tim, but if God came up to you and said, okay, now he kind of did recently, he came up to you and said, I want you to lead the church. Yikes.
Good points. Good points. Huh? Yeah.
I mean, also in the command that the Lord gave him, he talked about how he's going to make him a great nation and bless him, and that he was going to, be this, make him famous. And I wonder if there's parts of him that felt unworthy. Like, who am I? Why me? The why me question.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Sorry, Pastor, I know, but I gotta move on. I'm sorry, really. I'm not trying to say no to you, but we got limited time. But this is all really good stuff, and this is the kind of studying, when you're studying on your own, these are the things that you should think about. When you're reading the scripture, okay, how was he thinking? How is he feeling? He said yes, but maybe he did feel scared. Maybe he did feel like he didn't know if he could do it on his own, and so that's why he brought Lot, and his family to have a little bit more support, and maybe he thought that fit in God's covenant. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. It's not entirely clear, but it kind of helps us to make him more like a person and not just a character in a book. So, okay, so we're going to skip question 6, and we're going to move on to the caravan. So, I'm going to give you, I know this is probably a tight timeline, but 15 minutes to, as a group, read through your assigned passages, which you will see right above your questions. Each caravan has a passage to read and questions to answer. So you're going to have 15 minutes to read that passage and discuss among yourselves the answers to those questions. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, go ahead. 15 minutes.
guys think, how does it help us understand his character? Righteous? You guys have any other?
You mean from Ishmael, from that mess? Yeah. Yeah, we were obedient. And I guess he moved towards God. I remember when I was brand new.
To me, when it says steadfast there, it means he's just
How do I know that was God? So I'll leave it up to him. Talk to him once and get to know his voice. And I guess Abraham knew his voice by then. That was a huge thing. It was a huge thing. I mean,
he definitely knew God. It felt like it was just like, I think that's like, there's no hesitation.
they say that he was born. I mean, some scholars say that he was a man. When he first left he was already 75.
How does verse 17 to 18 help us understand God?
Thankfully for church, we do It says, why do you think Abraham might consider this?
Like, think about it. Make up in your mind, you know, obey God, take my power, and like, you were literally it's done with me, and it's that feeling of despair, and that's not clear to get there.
They kind of show
Even after all the miracles.
Like, in his present time, I would say,
But at the same
that's
time,
not my deal.
If you think about it, because they were worshiping idols, right? They were false gods that they actually cared for these false gods. Probably not. And then all of a sudden you're hearing about this entity that you and it's all clear as we that would be pretty shocking. I think it would give a pretty good impression. So he'd have to be very trusting
And,
to step out in that somewhere along the line. I'm sure it was a whole issue on that.
I said it makes me think about Jesus due to it's like not infinitely word. Simply promised. Not waiting to be patient enough and seeing it only in first stand all in 12. Not getting their
Yeah,
thought.
because the thing is,
Okay. How do you think Abram felt about this prophetic promise?
opinion and they allow it.
Yeah, because it says how you
You know, I read something a while back, and I've only really been
Yours doesn't really count as that long.
No, you had good, you had good ones. What's your thoughts, Ruth? Now you're going to get
We've got about 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left.
Oh, 5 minutes.
As you continue to discuss, also, if you can assign a spokesperson for your caravan, that's fine too, if you want to do it that way. Yeah?
A little, like I trust in God, but like, that's big. It's a lot of responsibility. No man left behind on this earth. That's right. Exciting.
I wasn't here last time, did Michael discuss Mount You want to share now?
All right, I'll pull you. First protocol. And so, like, God kind of said, you know, your son. That's why I said, I'll just keep it the same. Just like about it. How do you feel about the prophetic promise? Understanding of his. I mean, I'm sure he felt, like you said, I'll be super excited. I'm sure it's such an excitement, like anticipation.
Well, it says, how does the new name of God, Jehovah Jireh, which is God provides, echo into the future of that mountain? Sarah just said, God provides the sacrifice for us. How does it echo into our own lives? Lord provides for us.
I came into the dish like her.
He has 3 minutes to spare. That's how we're gonna work this.
Oh, like your camel is busy too. Going with it. I'm gonna write down everything.
I'm just support you.
Dad, is this channel 1 or channel 2? Or hand 1 or hand 2? Check. I think this is the one I was using. Okay. All right, time's up. Sorry, was that too loud? Okay, time's up. Put your pencils down. Halt the caravan. Set up camp. Okay. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pass the mic around and have each caravan share their findings, their thoughts, and analysis of their passage. Now, in future weeks, we'll be able to take a little bit more time with this, but because this was kind of our introduction of this one, we are kind of buttoned up on our end time, so we'll share a little bit. Each one can share a little bit, but we'll kind of move through concisely, okay? All right, Caravan 1. Yes. Oh, you. Sorry. I didn't realize you were first. Caravan 1, what was your... What did you... Yes, give us a little intro of your passage.
So we read Genesis 15. It's basically about the part where God takes Abraham out and shows him stars or whatever, and then he puts him to sleep, and there's a darkness that comes over him, and the whole carcasses are split in half, and the fire walks through it. So
Excellent.
here's our questions.
So question 1 was discuss what is a covenant, and we came up with the words a promise, a vow, an oath, or a pledge, or a pledge.
Excellent. Thank you.
Question 2, how does verse 6 inform our understanding of Abraham's character? Righteous, full of faith?
Let me just read...
Solid, loyal, and trusting.
Let me read 15 real quick for you, verse 6. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. The Lord basically said, I see your faith, and I call that righteous. So, a little context there. Go ahead, Kevin.
3 was how does verses 17 and 18 inform our understanding of God's character? Those are the ones where Abraham is sleeping and the dream comes. We decided that it shows God's character by showing that he's true to his word, that he has exceptional foresight because he's God, and he's a light in our darkness. And it's sort of also giving like a representation of what is to come and what part God is going to play. So,
Excellent.
All right. Number 4 was consider the land God promised to Abraham, and how does it compare to the land of Israel that Israel currently occupies? The last couple of verses talks about what the land is that God's promised him, and it says a whole bunch of other places, but basically it says from the borders of Egypt all the way through to the Euphrates. And so we actually looked it up on our little map that Michael gave us of that whole region. And so when you really look at it, the promised land is infinitely larger than what Israel actually occupies. It's like so minute what it occupies now. We were thinking maybe it's like a 20th of it, possibly.
Yeah, it says from the river of Egypt, which presumably is the Nile River, to the Euphrates River, which, like what Deanna said, if you look at your map, you can see that that is like basically all of the Middle East and into Egypt. So, yes, exactly what you said. Very, very different than what we see today. Go ahead, Evie.
Number 5 was, how do you think Abram felt about this prophetic promise God gave him? And we said hopeful, excited, overwhelmed, hesitant, anticipation, ambivalent, and surprised.
Awesome. Okay, let's give it up for Caravan 1. Okay, Caravan 2. Is this your spokesperson? Okay. For question 1, okay. Okay, question 1, sorry. So, Pastor Russ, give us a quick synopsis of what your passage was about.
It was about the birth of Ishmael and how God had promised Abram and Sarai that they would have an heir, and it would be that Sarai was going to give birth, and it was going to be, it was God's plan for Abram and Sarai to produce an heir, a child, which would have been Isaac. God had already spoken to Abram and promised him and her, his wife Sarai. I think they just looked at the circumstances they were in. She was 90, he was 100, and thought, did I really hear from God? It makes me wonder if God spoke to them audibly or just impression. I don't know. The Bible doesn't say. But they got ahead of God and they used their logic and figured out, this, we got to do something. So it was logical, but it wasn't being obedient. And I think it's the same way that Adam and Eve fell in the Garden of Eden. They saw the tree, that it was good for fruit. It was a pleasant tree, one to make one wise. And, they just thought it would be something good, even though God told them not. So they just weren't fully obedient. And the repercussions, we was discussing it, Ishmael was born. In this prophecy, this is incredible. I highlighted it. He'll be a wild man. His hand will be against every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of his brethren. And 3,000 years later, we're still dealing with this. So, it doesn't only affect people at that time. Being disobedient can affect generations.
Yes.
That's what I got out of it.
Yes, great. Two things that you mentioned, Pastor Russ, that really stand out to me. The question 1 was, how does this compare to the fall of humanity, right? Is that correct? I really like that you said that Abram and Sarai were making a logical choice, but not a God choice. And I think that really connects to the Garden of Eden as well. If you think about the arguments that Satan or that the serpent gave, they were very logical arguments. Like, oh, you won't die if you eat of this. You'll be like God. Those were logical arguments, but they were going against God's commandments, which were more built on faith and trust rather than human logic. So I think that really is a good comparison. Another thing that you said was, and now it slipped my mind. Oh, yes, the repercussions. If we look at the decisions that Abraham and Sarah made throughout their life, it's not just Ishmael. There are multiple other things that they do throughout their life that have repercussions that echo centuries into the future, that affect their descendants, their children and their children's children, that just keeps going down. It is quite eye-opening to see how much those decisions that seemed like logical decisions at the time had these massive repercussions later on. So, okay, question 3.
Yeah. One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, God, Satan offered them godhood.
Yes.
You shall be like God. You shall be a God.
Right.
And that's wow.
Mm-hmm.
Their ego. But
Yeah.
Look what it did.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, go ahead. Question 3. Or sorry, did you answer 2? I'm sorry. I thought you. Go ahead. 2.
What happened was Russ had question 1, but also he kind of like went over
I
all.
see.
He just hit on all of them.
Okay.
So we're
Go
just
ahead.
gonna
Yes.
just reiterate. So with question 2, it says, "Why do you think Sarai offered this plan?" And it was because she was old. She was 90. And she was barren. She hadn't had any children up to this point, so she didn't quite believe God that this was really going to happen because it hasn't happened yet. So, what are the chances given these circumstances?
Exactly.
And number 3.
And why do you think Abram agreed to Sarai's plan? He wanted an heir, even though God had promised him down the road, but he didn't want to wait.
Exactly. Yes.
How does God's treatment of Haggai inform our understanding of his character? No matter how she was, God was kind to her because God's a kind God. And he's patient with us too.
Yes. Yes, definitely. It's
She was obedient
yeah.
to her master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's quite distinct. You would think that, and I think in our earthly mind sometimes we think, that God would have treated her differently. But he treats her with nothing but compassion and mercy. And the reality is that she had no choice in the matter, really. I mean, we don't know what her part was in it, how she felt about it. But she was a slave, essentially. I mean, she was a servant. She had no choice. This was forced on her, and so she kind of got roped into this scandal unwillingly. So, okay, go ahead. Question 5.
Question 5 was, discuss how this passage affects your understanding of going outside of God's plan. It shows that if you are not patient in the Lord and do not trust beyond earthly understanding, then it causes a detour in God's plan.
Yes, definitely. Excellent. Thank you, Caravan 2. Let's give them a hand. All right. Caravan 4. We don't know what happened to Caravan 3. They got lost along the way, I think. Sarah, give us a quick synopsis of what you read and then give us question 1.
Okay, so we had Genesis 22, where the Lord asked Abraham to take his only son, Isaac, up as a burnt offering. And we know the story. He doesn't end up having to do it, but so we'll start at the beginning. Question 1, how would you react to or feel about the commandment in verse 2 that says, take now your son, your only son, and offer him as a burnt offering? So I think all of us kind of collectively, at first, were kind of like questioning, like, why, Lord? Like, why would you ask that of me? And just like feeling, personally, I would feel like sick to my stomach if the Lord asked me that. Like, I don't know, I would just, I feel like everything in me would just like, like your soul almost like wants to leave your body. Like you're just, what? You want me to what? So that's question 1. Question 2, why do you think Abraham might consider this his darkest moment? We didn't talk a lot about this one altogether, but I had wrote down that I think it was he would perceive it as his darkest moment because he was going to go through with it. Like, I try to think of the reality of that. Like, okay, if I'm going to obey and I'm actually going to do it, and you have the intention, you're bringing everything up with you. And even though God was like, okay, you passed the test, you don't have to do this, that would still be my darkest moment. That, like, that almost had to happen. I feel like, it canceled the promise of heirs.
Right, yeah.
So
it would kind of feel like, I think I would be like, Lord, you just... we went through all of this. We went through all of this. You just gave me the son that you promised me, that all of my descendants, all of the promises that you gave me are dependent on this son. Yeah. And now you're asking me to sacrifice him. That would feel almost, again, make me begin to question the validity of this, even though he was going to go through it, with it. So exactly what you said, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Charlotte had made a good point too that, because like we think at the timeline of this, like, oh, was it just shortly after? Was he a little boy? Was he a teenager? Whatever. And it doesn't really say, but she had said that she had read one scholar had believed that he was like 40 in his 40s. Is that what you had said? Yeah, that he was like a 45-year-old son at that point. So think about that, like from the last test, all these years later, all these years of obedience and being faithful and everything, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, this kind of comes out of left field, I'm sure it feels like. But so that was just something interesting I thought we could ponder on that. Question 3, how does verse 6 inform our understanding of Abraham's character? In verse 6, it just basically says, okay, so Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son. He's like, all right, like handing it to him. All right, let's go, son, we're going to go up. So that showed his obedience, and it showed that he had integrity, not just lip service, because he was actually like preparing. He had all the stuff. They were going. They were actively going up there. Question 4, how does this passage affect your understanding of the place trials and tests have in our walk of faith? Charlotte had made a really good point that those bring out who we really are, kind of like when our character and when we're under pressure, you know. Question 5, how does the new name of God, Jehovah Jireh, we Googled that because I was like, isn't that Jireh? But apparently the original Hebrew translation is Jireh. Proclaimed in verse 14, echo into the future of that mountain, and how does it echo into our own lives? So in verse 14, it says, Abraham called the name of the place, the Lord will provide. So the Lord like provided a sacrifice then. So Michael really delved into this last week, and it was really good about, okay, so he didn't have to end up sacrificing the son because the Lord will provide. And that was, I think it was like a shadow of like what's to come. Christ was this ultimate sacrifice in the same area, the same mountain, which is just mind-blowing. And he carried the wood, and so did Jesus, like up the same mountain in a different way. Like so it's really interesting how it echoes into the future of the mountain in that aspect. I think it echoes into our own lives because God will provide. Like he is provider, and he always provides one way or another.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Caravan 4. Let's give them a hand. Excellent, excellent. Okay. So we made it through all of our questions, all of our caravans. As I said, Sodom and Gomorrah we didn't get to, but you can go ahead and read that on your own if you want a little extra. It's not a happy story, I'll tell you that. It's a depressing story. But it is... It was definitely a low moment in the life of Abraham. Not that Abraham was directly involved, but still. So this is kind of going to be the style that we'll be studying for these spiritual journeys. I want to give you guys the opportunity with some guidance to dive a little deeper and truly walk in the shoes of these figures that we read about a lot. You know, all of the people that we're going to be reading and studying throughout this series are figures that we hear about a lot, that that are major figures even in secular culture. But there was a person behind the stories. And so in this series, I want to have us go a little deeper and really consider, who was this person? Why did they make these choices? What would it be like for me to make this choice? Because the reality is that the Lord is calling us to make choices like this in our own lives just as much as he did for them. He may not be calling us to war with swords and spears or to physical sacrifices, but he is calling us to spiritual warfare with our prayers, with our word, with our hearts. He is calling us to sacrifice our will, our desires, our flesh, our worship. And so if we can look back and see these people were able to make that choice, that will help us be able to make that choice as well. Yes, Pastor Hurd.
I just want to be brief about it. I was thinking, we look at Abraham and all that he went through, but then we look at our own lives, and we've passed some of those tests. we've gone through God's call on our lives, and we made a step. God's call was at the point of repentance, when we repented. And we said, yes, Lord, we're going to follow you. And then the devil, however long you are going on with God, the devil has thrown things in our path. And so we can take encouragement from this, but also we can analyze this or compare this with our walk and some of the things that we have gone through. And here we are sitting here discussing this and about Abraham. But what about our own lives? When we go back, and I think that should be an encouragement to us, that we have gone through some of the same things that Abraham, and we thank God through him, we've passed the test. And we're still here. So I think it should bring encouragement to us that here we are. I mean, if we went around this room tonight, I mean, the stories that could be told of the pressure that some of us have gone through, and we still walk with God and still study his word and still seek his face and walk with him. So that just came to my mind.
That is so true. That's a great word, Pastor Hurd. Thank you for sharing that. And a great encouragement for us as we dive deep into these scriptures. Okay, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that this was informative to you. And I'm going to go ahead and close us in prayer. Would we be able to get the basket so we can take offering quickly? And then I will close us this portion of service with prayer. And then we'll give you some directions for those that are going to be staying after to help us do some rearranging in here. So if you got any givings to the Lord today, if you've got any finances to give to the Lord, you can bring those down and drop them in the basket. Alrighty, I'm gonna say a prayer over us today, wherever you're at. Lord God, I am so thankful for this time that we get to have together, and I pray that as we read these passages, as we read these scriptures and learn about these men of faith, that we will be encouraged and be able to see that even if we're in the trial today, that it has an outcome that will leave us at a greater relationship with you, as long as we stay faithful to you. And Lord, I pray over our giving today, Lord, that it would be blessed and multiplied and applied to your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. And those of you that are... Yes.
Can I just remind the worship team, I totally forgot rehearsal, that tomorrow is the Jesus Reigns prayer. So it starts at 6, so if we could be here just a smidge early so we can just get set up so we can start right at 6. I forgot to mention that. Thank you.
All right, there you go, worship team. Okay, those of you that are staying to help, first thing I would say is grab any of your stuff and let's just put it all up here on the stage. That way it's kind of out of the way because we're going to be removing all the chairs. All right. So I'll just throw out a couple of things that we can start doing if you're free. All the chairs need to be stacked and rolled into the lobby. So if someone wants to grab the chair cart, looks like Kevin's doing that. So if we could have the chairs stacked, Kevin's coming on with the cart. This 8-foot table can be brought back to that back corner. The other two can be left up. All right. Now, that one can stay. From the shed, the storage building, I don't remember where I put my phone. Oh, it's over here. That one can stay there too. From the storage building, we're going to need 3 round tables.
And 1 6-foot.
I thought it was a 4-foot. Oh, yes, one more 8-foot.
And then 2 4 feet.
Okay. I think one of the 4 feet is in the kitchen. So we need a 4-foot, an 8-foot, and 3 round tables brought in. That's like a whole other foot taller.
I think I'm like 5'3", 5'4" right now.
It puts her at right about 5'4", because it's a tiny. I'm 5'3" and 3/4", and she's 5'1".
In the kitchen, behind the door, there's a 4-foot table. If you want to grab that, you should bring it in here. Kevin, you can actually leave that stack there, but these ones you can take out over here. I would say leave those 2 stacks. These 4 here, you can take out. That's fine. We need 3 round, 1 8, and 1 4.
I gotta look at my diagram, I forgot what
Those go over there. Two of them go over here.
One goes
One goes here.
I wasn't listening because I was in the thing.
One more round.
One more round, okay.
And then, I don't know what the other is.
The 8-foot can go back there, Sarah, into that corner.
Where
And the 4-foot, yes.
do you want it?
This can go right here in between these 2 tables.
Lila, is this where it's going?
Yes.
Are you fine?
Yes. I need a second one. I thought we had a second. Okay, that's okay. I don't know.
I have one, Pastor Alec, at the office.
I actually think that there's a. If you want to look, there might be kind of like a coffee table in the shed. It might be a little heavy actually. Let me see if I can.
I'll take a look.
So we're doing.
Oh, you so goofy. Yeah, that was. You can just see how it. I would assume. So yeah, maybe we just put it up and just see. Yeah, because this already looks terrible. Get rid of it. This looks goofy. Did anybody mention a broken round table to you? I don't know why. As long as I'm not stuck in the crowd.
I don't know that there is a need.
I have the mic now. Not even on. It's on?
You know what?
I was on a mission. Mine was the round.
Okay. There's 2 tables, 8 foot there.
Here, I'll let you hold it and I'll go ask Ellen if there's anything
I
else.
think we're gonna get one more, circle table. And do 2. I think you're probably the tallest one of us.
Do we need 4?
Yes.
That looks so goofy.
Okay.
It did, I agree with Isla.
Yeah, so we're gonna be wedding party, and we're gonna see what it looks like with family and grandparents.
Okay.
Didn't look good.
Cocktail table's not out there, but Mrs. Newman said she's going to look at their house and see if it's up there. So you can pick her up. Where's my microphone? Okay, Kevin, if you want, we're going to try to do 2